The space race was one of the most defining events of the 20th century, a battle of technology, ideology, and human ingenuity between two global superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. It was more than just a quest to reach the stars, it was a demonstration of dominance, a show of strength in the midst of the Cold War, and a moment in history that would forever change humanity's relationship with space. The roots of the space race can be traced back to World War II when both nations were developing rocket technology. The Germans had already demonstrated the potential of rocketry with the V-2 missile, which rained destruction on London and other Allied cities. After the war, the United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to acquire German rocket scientists, with the Americans recruiting Wernher von Braun and his team through Operation Paperclip. Meanwhile, the Soviets captured their own share of German engineers and launched their own ambitious space program. The true beginning of the space race came in 1957 when the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. The small, beeping sphere orbited the Earth, signaling the dawn of the space age and sending a clear message: the Soviet Union had taken the lead. The United States, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Just a few months later, in early 1958, the U.S. launched Explorer 1, marking its entry into the competition. In response to Sputnik, the U.S. government established NASA in 1958, an agency dedicated solely to space exploration. The Soviets continued their dominance by sending the first living being into space, a dog named Laika, aboard Sputnik 2. Tragically, Laika did not survive, but her mission proved that living organisms could endure space travel, paving the way for human missions. The next milestone came on April 12, 1961, when Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to orbit the Earth aboard Vostok 1. His flight lasted only 108 minutes, but it was a triumph for the Soviet Union and a moment that cemented Gagarin as a global hero. The United States was determined to catch up, and just a few weeks later, Alan Shepard became the first American in space aboard the Freedom 7 capsule. However, his flight was suborbital, falling short of Gagarin's full orbit around Earth. President John F. Kennedy, recognizing the urgency of the situation, delivered a historic speech in 1961, declaring that the United States would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the decade was out. This bold commitment set the stage for the Apollo program. The Soviets, meanwhile, continued their advances, with cosmonaut Alexei Leonov performing the first spacewalk in 1965. However, their lunar ambitions faced setbacks. While they focused on perfecting their Soyuz spacecraft, the Americans aggressively pursued the development of the Saturn V rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built. Tragedy struck both sides. In 1967, the Apollo 1 crew, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, perished in a fire during a pre-launch test. The Soviet Union suffered its own losses, including the death of cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov in the Soyuz 1 mission. Despite these setbacks, NASA pressed on, successfully testing the lunar module and refining their approach to landing on the moon. The culmination of the space race came on July 20, 1969, when Apollo 11 landed on the lunar surface. Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, uttering the famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Buzz Aldrin joined him, while Michael Collins orbited above in the command module. The world watched in awe as the United States achieved Kennedy's ambitious goal, effectively winning the space race. The Soviet Union, despite their early lead, never managed to send cosmonauts to the moon. Instead, they shifted focus to space stations, launching Salyut 1 in 1971 and later developing the Mir space station. The United States, too, changed its priorities, leading to the development of the Space Shuttle program. By the end of the Cold War, cooperation replaced competition, culminating in the joint Apollo-Soyuz mission in 1975 and later the construction of the International Space Station. The space race not only defined an era but also laid the foundation for modern space exploration.
Technologies developed during this time led to satellite communications, GPS, and countless other innovations. Today, space agencies and private companies continue the quest for the stars, with missions to Mars, lunar colonization projects, and the search for extraterrestrial life. While the space race was a competition born out of political tension, its legacy is a shared human achievement, proving that our desire to explore the cosmos transcends borders and ideologies. The journey to the stars is far from over, and the spirit of exploration ignited by the space race continues to drive humanity forward into the vast unknown of space.